Today, we're going to be taking a look at Apple's infamous trash can Mac Pro, also known as the 2013 Mac Pro. Released on December the 19th, 2013, the trash can Mac Pro is a one of its own kind of Mac, as it came in a rather unusual design, and this was where the trash can name came from. Now, while being visually striking, due to its compact cylindrical form factor, it made it pretty difficult to upgrade or repair on. This was quite a big shift because they stuck with the tower style form factor which everybody loved for quite a while, pretty much from the Power Macintosh 8100 to the 2012 Mac Pro, into this trash can like design. The older Mac Pros were pretty much 100% use upgradable from the CPU up to the GPU, memory and storage. Users had the flexibility to easily swap out the components and customize the setups and extend the lifespan of their machines without relying on any of Apple's proprietary upgrades, and this was something that the 2013 Mac Pro got rid of. And the only easily upgradable parts were the memory and the storage. Now let's talk about the specs of the 2013 Mac Pro. My trash can came with 16GB of DDR3 memory, which is upgradable to 128GB. I also have a 512GB SSD which could be upgraded to 1TB. My Mac Pro came with a 6-core Xeon E5 1650 V2, but it could use different higher-end LGA 2011 processors. One thing that made the 2013 Mac Pro pretty cool was the fact that it came with dual GPUs, and yes, you heard that right, 2 GPUs. You had 3 options for your GPUs. You had the AMD FirePro D300, you had the D500, and then you had the D700. And all of these GPUs were custom made for the 2013 Mac Pro, meaning they couldn't be replaced with any other PCIe based GPUs. And that's pretty much just another clear example of why these failed to sell. We'll even talk about the D700 when we talk about the issues. Now let's talk about ports. On the front we have 2 auxiliary ports. We have 4 USB 3 ports, we have 6 Thunderbolt 2 ports, 2 Ethernet ports, and a HDMI 1.4 port. This is one thing that I do actually really like about the 2013 Mac Pro. Despite not being very upgrade friendly, it was actually pretty easy to get inside. There's a lock on the front near the ports that keeps the outer case on. Once inside that lock, all you have to do is lift the case off and now you have easy access to the internals. And let's talk about the issues with the Mac Pro, starting off with that FirePro D700. One of the most significant issues with the 2013 Mac Pro, especially in the higher end models, was the FirePro D700. They tended to thermal throttle under load quite easily. The Mac Pro's cooling system was based around a single fan that drew the air through the center of the cylinder. The thermocore is one large giant heatsink that the CPU and the 2 GPUs all share to stay cooled. Since they all share the heat under one heatsink that's cooled by a single fan, it obviously gets pretty warm in there and then leads to thermal throttling. Now, Apple's design was based on the idea that a single fan could cool all components, but in practice it never really delivered the expected results under professional real-world workloads. The D700 cards also seem to fail easily. Now, I haven't heard many issues with users using the mid/low-end Mac Pros with the D300 and the D500 cards. Now, coming from someone who's been using the D500 card variant, which is what I've got right here, I haven't really had any issues. Now, secondly was the lack of upgrades and repairability. Now, we already have went through this, but upgrades like the CPU and GPU are really hard to perform on this. The older Mac Pros were very easy to upgrade, and the shift from an upgradable and easy to modify machine to a nice looking but very anti-upgrade and repair machine caused a lot of controversy. The fact that there were 6 Thunderbolt 2 ports sort of explained the way Apple was going here in terms of upgrades. They clearly expected users to do upgrades externally instead of internally, and I do see the vision and all, but Thunderbolt 2 just wasn't at it yet. Thunderbolt 3 seems a lot more capable and it's definitely a lot faster. And then lastly, there was the price. The entry model trash can came in at $2,099. The mid-tier trash can came in at $4,000. And then the high-end D700 trash can came in at a whopping $5,000. Now, for a machine that couldn't be upgraded easily, I can see why it failed. Lastly, let's talk about the benchmarks and the overall performance of this machine. Starting off with some good old lightweight gaming. Minecraft performs exceptionally well. I had VSync enabled though, so it was capped at 75 FPS, but you'd usually average about 100 to 170 FPS on 1080p. I had fancy graphics and maximum smooth lighting with a render distance set to 10 chunks. I have my cloud set to fancy and my particles set to decreased. And finally the biome blend was set to 15 by 15, but that doesn't really matter though entirely. We average around 100 to 170 FPS on our D500. Secondly, I ran a DaVinci Resolve Studio export for the 2014 MacBook Air video I made a few months ago. In size, it's a 22GB project that consists of 1080p 60 footage and several Fusion elements with tracking. It took roughly 27 minutes and 36 seconds to render, and playback in Resolve was pretty smooth. Lastly, I ran a Cinebench test to compare our Xeon E5-1650 V2 to the M1. In terms of single-core performance, we get 48, which is far off from the M1 by 64 points. Here's where it gets interesting though. In our multi-core test, we found that the E5-1650 V2 was only 177 points away from the M1. The Xeons definitely work a lot more better on the multi-core tasks. So in conclusion, did the 2013 Mac Pro really deserve the hate it received? This will probably surprise you, but to be honest, I do understand why it was hated, and I don't believe it deserved the hate because that's a bit of a strong word. It's more of a I understand why it was hated sort of thing. Its cylindrical design was magical and all, but it was sort of impractical because it led to the fact that upgrading it was extremely difficult. And its cylindrical design also led to thermal issues too, and what a Mac Pro was really meant for, things such as video editing, 3D design, and etc. Now, one thing that a lot of my friends tend to agree on is the fact that the 2013 Mac Pro was pretty much the Mac Studio of 2013. If you excluded the thermal issues and the lack of Thunderbolt 3, it's quite small and compact, but it's not really upgradable. And this is something that I've noticed with Jony Ive's design, especially with the 2016 to 2020 Intel MacBooks. They all had thermal issues because of the design or thinness, but they're great and magical designs, but they're pretty much impractical. And unfortunately, the 2013 Mac Pro fell under that. If you liked what you saw there, definitely consider subscribing as it helps my channel a lot. We've been growing very well exponentially, and I'd like to say thank you to everyone who's subscribed to me and helped me make this video. Also, feel free to join the Discord server, and so I'll see you guys in my next video.